enemies, we will not only revive you, we will make you rich again. We will revive the corporate elites that we had just been at war with. And so Germany revived. Germany was integrated into the world market. Japan was integrated into the world market. They were not punished, they were revived. But the condition for the revival was that Japan and Germany, junior partners, following the leadership of the United States in this new global confrontation, which is a confrontation between capitalism and socialism. So Germany, the United States, Britain, France, and the other countries that constituted NATO, which was formed in 1949, were a block of capitalist countries with the understanding that each of them would be given a place, a share in the world economy, as long as they followed the leadership of the United States. That was the quid pro quo in the new post-World War II arrangement. The United States wanted, during that entire period, to make sure that not only the capitalist powers would follow the United States lead in the struggle against socialism and communism, but that the United States would retain primacy in all of the areas of the world that the United States considered to be primary for U.S. hegemony. And we see that play out all over the place. The coup d'etat against the democratically elected government in Iran that took place in 1953, that brought the Shah to power, that was as a result of the Mossadegh government nationalizing the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, also known as BP. So the United States partnered with Britain, carried out an economic destabilization of the government in Iran, brought into power a dictatorship, the Shah, who then denationalized the oil and returned it to British Petroleum, but 40% then went to Gulf Oil. So the United States, in addition to leading the struggle against communism, was also gaining market share and domination wherever possible, and resisting those who tried to challenge that, especially in what was then called the Third World. Same thing happened in 1954. The next year, the United States, the CIA, overthrew the Arbenz government. Arbenz, like Mossadegh, was not a communist, but he dared to nationalize the United Fruit Company and say that the profits of United Fruit should go to lift up the people of Guatemala, bring them out of poverty. And so the United States is under the banner of fighting communism, was actually overthrowing democratically elected governments that were not communist, not socialist, but were trying to use resources that their countries possessed for the elimination of poverty of their own people. So in some ways, the war against communism became pretextual to maintain U.S. domination wherever U.S. corporate interests were challenged, even by non-communist forces who wanted to be able to alleviate poverty in their own country. There's another feature of that time that we really have to recognize that's so different from today. The differences, we're emphasizing the differences here between this Cold War and the last Cold War. What was the other big difference? Was that after World War II, a wave of revolution swept through Asia. It was not just in Korea, but it was also in Vietnam. It was also in China. Communist parties in Vietnam, in Korea, in China were fighting for power.
This is a guy who was on alternative radio, right? Comes out of Boulder, Colorado. And I would suggest you go to their, alternativeradio.org, and they have 40 something years of lectures like that. They do one a week. So they got quite a few. 40 something years times 52, they got quite a few. And they're all very information that, is right there if you want to. What this man was lecturing on, he's a professor, and he also runs a alternative um, media blog. And it's interesting because he is just kind of bringing forth what's going on around the world, especially in China. China is not it's a communist country. The Communist Party runs it, but they're not trying to have a Russian communist revolution around the world. No, they want to make money. They want a win-win situation, right? So while we were spending 20 years having total war in, Afghanistan and Iraq, that, Saddam Hussein was our boy. We put him in power. He was our, you know, uh, minor partner in criminality in there. I mean, he fought Iran in a war that killed millions of people, his own and Iranians, and knocked Iran down for about 15 years, socially and economically, and and we took him out for no reason at all, right? Just because the neocons wanted to. It's called hubris, and we're having this war in Ukraine. It's called hubris. Um, the people in Congress are getting upset. They thought this thing would be over in a few weeks or a month or two or whatever. Now it's going on 2 years and close to $100 billion, and the military is going. The Ukrainians are they're adverse to having wounded and people dying in the war. So they're shooting off lots of artillery shells to break through, rather than marching thousands of guys through the minefields, like the Iraqis did and the Iranians did, and the Russians did too. That's the Russians have lost 500,000 people, um, and Ukraine has lost 750,000 people. That's more than 1 million people have died in this war so far, and a good deal of them innocent mommies and kids, etc. Right now, what's going to go on in Israel is that kind of Holocaust is not going to take a couple of years, because the Palestinian people don't have anything to fight back with. Hamas just did a little raid, which I and don't believe a word I say. It was so amazingly successful that I'm pretty sure somebody in the Israeli Defense Force or whatever um, hegemony they have wanted to have this so they could go in and take all of Gaza and make it Israel, right? And very, Hegelian slash, you know, Karzai mob, right? Who are the Anunnaki. So if you just did your little homework, I had a little nice blurb about that on a show or two ago. And, people send me stuff, so I put it out. Just play it, the audio, so you can hear it and get an idea. And the United States has been doing this hegemony and this, egocentric. We're exceptional. We can do whatever we want. When Bill Clinton was president, just before baby um, Bush took over, basically, what's her name? Um, Clinton's Secretary of State, Albright. She was in North Korea, and they were had a thing almost all drawn up where they were going to bring, just like East Germany and West Germany came together. They're going to do that to, and the little rock man was, and then things went sideways, right? And once Little Rocket Man saw how Iraq, one of our client states, was taken out, and same with Libya was one of our client states, and so was Syria, and so was all of those places. And so he said, "No, I need nuclear weapons." And he's very smart because he made nuclear weapons, tested them underground, but he hasn't stuck them on missiles, right? He has the missile, he's shooting the missiles off, and so he's got the technology. He hasn't put it together and said, "Okay, now I'm a threat," because then we'd have to go blow him off the face of the earth. So he's trying to do that. And but we had to do the thing with Putin